And then there's been a lot of big news around Rangers lately. One of those is that Philippe Clement has been sacked after a relatively poor season for the club. Barry Ferguson has come in as the interim manager to the end of the season. How much could the compensation fee be for Clement after he only signed a new contract last summer?
I suspect it was capped out anyway, with some kind of clause that gave him 6 months' money, probably something like that. I think it's unlikely that it was, paid to the end of the contract type thing. So these days they generally have clauses that look actually quite a lot like the clauses that normal people have in the outside world, as opposed to the sorts of contracts that players have, which are very, very specifically fixed-term contracts without the ability to make people redundant or sack them with notice. So I wouldn't think it's going to make a very material difference to Rangers to have removed Clement, even though they only recently signed him on a new contract.
And you touched on earlier Parag Maraf, about how he talked around Leeds and them looking at a new club. He didn't specifically mention Rangers, but he did say that any new club wouldn't be a feeder club to Leeds. That's positive news for Rangers, right? If it was to be Rangers that they were to pursue a deal for, or are pursuing a deal for.
Well, I think I think it cuts both ways. I mean, if you look at what Rangers could be. And certainly for a period, it would not necessarily be a terrible situation for Rangers to be able to take players from a successful Leeds United team and vice versa. Now, it depends on those terms being at arm's length and market rates, which they would need to be anyway. But having access to a talent pool from what they hope over time will be a top Premier League team as part of the same group can have advantages. And there's not been many examples, but Savinho at Manchester City coming from Girona is one of the examples of where it has worked, with Savinho looking like a very top player. Now they are few and far between, but I think Rangers having a close relationship with a Premier League team could, I'm not saying it would, but it could have some very significant upsides. We've spoken about this before. Rangers need to get into a position where the side on the pitch is good enough to qualify for the Champions League, and particularly to qualify for the Swiss game. So to get through whatever qualifiers they need to get through, because if you can get 10 Champions League games, that is transformational to the profit and loss of Rangers. And it's particularly important if Celtic have got it. So just to keep up with Celtic, they are going to have whatever Celtic have got in terms of Champions League. Otherwise, the gap is just going to get bigger and bigger.